Wema ganis du Wabanungu Quayandizri Kaz Mikanakto Den. Gawal Ba Bi Gani Kagandunjaba. My name is Donna LaChapell. My Indian name is Morning Star, and I'm in the Turtle Clan from White Earth Reservation. I grew up in the city in Minneapolis, but I spent my summers with my grandmother in Pondsburg. So she taught me how to cook and sew, and we'd hike around the village, and I would spend my times exploring the woods and the wilderness with the local kids, and we would follow the creek to the river to the lake and have a wonderful time together. My mother and my brothers and sisters, my dad, would all come up for the summer months, and they would head in the woods exploring and having lots of fun and looking for whatever they could find. Little birds, frogs, bees. And one day they found a Meday Lodge graveyard, and they would sit there all day bringing food and waiting for the little people to come out. So I loved that time with my grandmother. I really treasured her. And she'd visit her friends and speak Ojibwe, and she'd forget and she'd start speaking to me. And I looked at her so dumbfounded, she would laugh. But she did teach me one thing, the protocol, how to say hello, my name is, and so that was good. She was raised at the boarding school and was a devoted Catholic. So she wanted all her grandkids baptized to make sure we were all going to go to heaven. But from a young age, I wanted a spiritual path, and I knew the story of my great-grandfather, Peter Parker, that he belonged to the Meday Lodge. So as a young woman in my 20s, I started asking about that practice. And everybody that I talked to discouraged me because they said you had to have your language and that it was a secret society. So I just heard that and left it alone. And in the meantime, where I worked at the Community University Health Care Clinic right here in South Minneapolis, they gave me an opportunity to seek out elders and to get some medicine people to travel to the city to help our community, because we were facing poverty, prejudice, racism, alcohol, and drug abuse. So they wanted to find some traditional ways that we could really help begin the healing process for the people who lived in Minneapolis. So my sister and I went on a journey, and we first went to Mushkausen in Sawyer, Minnesota, and met Art Holmes. And he was great. He said he would come and do some teachings here. And he wrote the book, Grieving Indian, and it's been out for a number of years, and a lot of people use it because we carry all this historical trauma, intergenerational trauma, and secondary trauma. So he was the first one that I made friends with, and that he was so willing and eager to help us. And then from there he recommended that I visit people in Duluth at UMD and at Superior. There was an Indian house there. Lillian and Kendall Rice lived there, and so it began, and then I went from there to LCO and met Philip Martin, and that's where my sister and I both went into a 4-day sweat with him, and I learned so much in those 4 days, and it was like I walked back in time in that ceremony. So it was the beginning of my spiritual journey at that point that my life changed. And I used to travel up there for Sweat Lodge, and there was a large community of people from Minneapolis traveling there. And so we had this extended family of people who wanted a better way to live and pick up our traditional ways of life. Even though I think we have it in our DNA, it's always there, but to actually bring it to life and practice it and share it with our family members and our community, it's a beautiful process and a way to live. So we were growing our community, and we always wanted ceremonies. So the quest didn't stop there. We went further on, and I was introduced to Martin Heiber, a Lakota medicine man, and he was coming here to have ceremonies at Heart of the Earth Survival School and in other community centers. And he helped me greatly in healing ceremonies. And I lost a brother to suicide, and he helped me bury my brother in a good way. So I was so grateful that I wanted to give back what I was learning. And so I followed Martin to the Sundance Trail at Eagle Butte and out in Medford, Oregon. And I just went as a supporter. But it was so beautiful, and I loved the songs. And I was so grateful to have that opportunity. So I did that for a number of years, and I worked for Indian Upward Bound for 20 years with youth. I worked at Dream of Wild Health Farm, another program for youth, and now I'm here at Nokomis and Dodd, outpatient treatment for our young women, our women in this community in Minneapolis. So I'm the elder in residence, and I smile when I say that because I'm a young elder. I'm 64, and I lost both my parents in their early 50s from alcoholism. So I've lived past their age, but my grandmother was in her 90s before she passed. So all what I've learned about this good life, be modesty win, I share it with the women and let them know that there is a better way to live than be chemically dependent and homeless and on drugs. That we have to take responsibility for our lives and to look at the future generations, because we're not alone. That we have to pray for our people who don't have anyone to pray for them, and even that they can't pray for themselves because they're suffering. And I would think about a message for our young people and even the people my age or younger, to use our medicines, our tobacco. And prayer is so powerful. I use prayer in every part of my life. You know, sometimes when I'm lost in the city and I don't have any clue where I am, I just pray to Gije Manidu and I find my way. I have one son, he's 45, and I have 3 beautiful grandchildren. The youngest is 14, and my granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter, her name is Mede Ikwe. So one day I hope to take her to the Mede Lodge. I myself, I went through first degree Mede in 2012, and it just helped me in my life greatly, you know. I'm in a good place. I have done a lot of healing work, a lot of personal work and growth, which I am so grateful for. And I love my work and I love my life. I love being an Anishinaabe woman. I was out in the woods one summer, fall day with an elder, Jesse Clark from Mille Lacs. And it was a beautiful day. The leaves were bright and the sun was shining. And we were looking for the willow to build a sweat lodge. And I was just in this delight. And I said, I love being an Anishinaabe woman. And her response to me was, you can't help it.